Welcome, everybody, to the Joe Lee podcast. The podcast not about Angelina Jolie, but about NFL talk. I'm Joseph Yanez, and today I'm joined by.
Lee, hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Lee. We are very excited to do this podcast, and obviously, it's about NFL.
Yep. All right, so NFL Week 1. How did that turn out for your team, Lee?
I think for the most part, it turns out to be pretty good. Okay, look, I think we expect the Niners to beat the hell out of the Lions, but I always feel a little bit anxious, before going to the game because first of all, they got Jared Goff. Obviously, he's not Matt Stafford, but then they also have a new coach. Dan Campbell, where he was saying or biting off people's kneecap or something like that, which was kind of intimidating. So I didn't really know what to expect. But then also the Niners, my team has a lot of injuries even beforehand, and I really don't know how they're gonna play out. So very first two quarters, Niners were playing pretty good. They were leading by, I believe, leading by 14 points at one point, or 20. And on the second half, you start seeing that they kind of loosen up a little bit. So the Lions were able to score multiple runs. And so it made me a little bit nervous here because just seeing the results, the score, I believe the score here is 41 and 33. That was very close there. I thought they could have done better, but overall, I'm very excited that they actually won the first game. And I don't know. I think the last time they played, they lost the first game last season, and the year before the same thing. I could be wrong, but overall, very happy. And Jimmy G was playing well. So at least we don't have to pull up that whole thing about whoa, why don't you start with Trey Lance? And how about your team?
Oh, okay, so you guys actually started Jimmy G Week 1.
Oh yeah,
I think he
yeah.
had 250 yards? Something like
No,
that.
he actually had more than 300 yards that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's weird. I don't expect that from Jimmy because I just thought it was kind of interesting that he still has he still can do. Apparently, he's a still pretty good quarterback. So as a matter of fact, he has 214 yards. Uh,
Right. Well, Jimmy G was never a bad QB. He was just he was kind of vanilla for what the league is doing right now. Especially when
uh-huh.
you have a lot of passers like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, who are kind of like mobile quarterbacks. Like having a vanilla quarterback like Jimmy G or Tom Brady is starting to become a little more uncommon. I don't know if you notice a trend, or maybe it's just that a lot of the QBs that are the stars now uh, uh, get that attention, and because of that, we perceive as there's a lot more mobile quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on Jimmy G being on the one of the rare quarterbacks that isn't mobile?
Yeah, I actually thought it was pretty good. When we, I always like to look at the quarterbacks this way, whether you're mobile or not. It's well, how many completions you have for all the attempts, right? So for that particular game, Jimmy actually complete 7 of 25. Uh, I mean, could be better, but I think in my opinion was pretty good. He didn't do any interception. And then as far as the mobile quarterbacks and the vanilla quarterbacks, pocket quarterbacks, what they call it, I think the comparison is kind of interesting. I do feel like if the Niners can can go to the playoffs and with Jimmy, then I think the whole narrative will kind of change a little bit. Because you see how Brady, he's not like a mobile quarterback, but he won multiple Super Bowls. So nobody would say that, Brady's a kind of like vanilla quarterback. A lot of people respect him and even want him to shut up because sometimes he say things that isn't really necessary, right? He would be like, I think the league has gotten soft. But people were like, yeah, you're Brady. You won multiple times, so who cares? We'll listen to you once the playoffs starts. So I do think that as long as Jimmy, quarterbacks like Jimmy is doing their jobs, making sure that they're moving the ball, keep moving up the yardage. I think they will be fine.
Cool. Yeah. So Trey Lance is the backup quarterback for now. I think even in week 2, he didn't start. It was still Jimmy G, correct?
Yeah, he didn't
Okay.
start at all. I was just kind of like surprised because I thought, Shanahan was gonna like put, Trey Lance at the very important situations like the end zone, right? Because that's what he did last time. Like so, like Kyle put him at one of the end zone situation where he do a touchdown. So I was kind of surprised that Trey didn't play at all. Um, but I do think that I think they're in a really good situation where they didn't feel like they need to rush to put Trey Lance on the field. Whereas if you look at other new quarterbacks, uh, they don't have options, right? So like they have to put their like new quarterbacks out there,
Trevor
and then
Lawrence.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence. I don't. I feel bad for Justin Fields. Maybe a little bit for Matt Jones. I mean, Matt Jones is a little bit like Jimmy G. They basically, I heard that they have pretty similar stat line in game two. But as far as the Niners is concerned, I think as long as Jimmy is playing, doing his thing, like don't be a turnover machine, then there's no need to rush to put Trey on the field. And I think the longer you kind of like hide Trey from other teams, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know. What do you think? Like, so my thing about this is that the more other teams see how Trey Lanes play, the easier is for them to come up with a strategy to counter, like kind of like counter his move because they know that Trey Lance can run, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now I'll go to my team's week 1. So my team is the Los Angeles Chargers. Uh, and so, yeah, week 1 we played against Washington, and right out of the gate there was kind of like a question with the other team, like who they were going to start, whether it was going to be Taylor Heineke or it was going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they started Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not really all that surprised. Uh, Ryan Fitzpatrick obviously is a veteran at this game, but he does bring with what a lot of like other sports analysts call Fitzception, and
Mhm.
basically it's that he seems like he's good sometimes, but then he ends up just like throwing picks or whatever. And so, actually, during the game, Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured, and so they put in Taylor Heineke. So we got the Chargers at least got a sample of how both of the quarterbacks were gonna play. I actually don't know much about how bad his injury was, but it seems like Washington is rolling with Taylor Heineke now, and he actually played very well. I think that they are better off playing Taylor Heineke for probably the rest of the season. Um,
Mhm.
and he did seem like he had everything under control. I mean, I assume it's a lot less pressure for him playing against the Chargers week 1 than it was playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, because it was the first time he had ever played was during that one playoff game that Washington had. I was kind of rooting for them to win, but yeah, he was good there, and I think he's still good. He was still good in this matchup. I didn't watch their game for week 2, but yeah, Washington pretty good. They had that injury. I think it kind of threw him off a little bit during our game. Uh, so yeah. Now let me talk about the Chargers. So Justin Herbert had a good day. It seems like he's regressed a little bit. I'm not saying like he went from amazing to like good. I'm just saying like it seems like he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump. So he actually threw one pick during this game, and he had a fumble during week 1 as well. It was a really bad call, and I think this will is kind of like a is foretelling like week 2, because Justin Herbert had like thrown it, and then like one of the linemen like put his hand up and touched the ball at the same time. So like the ball was like it wasn't spiraling. It wasn't spiraling horizontally. It was spiraling vertically. And
Mm.
one of the Washington guys got it, and it was called a fumble, even though it was a forward pass. So it was a little weird in that sense. I think it was a bad call. There were other bad calls during this game, but it wasn't anything to affect the game too much. And at the end of the day, the Chargers still got the win. Justin Herbert had like 320 passing yards, which is really good, and that placed them in like the top 10 under Patrick Mahomes. The only reason Patrick Mahomes ranked higher than Justin Herbert was because of the one pick that was thrown, and even
Mm.
then, it wasn't like that wasn't that big of a deal, but it's things that Justin Herbert needs to work on because, like we're gonna discuss in week two, those things do come back to cost him the game.
Yeah, I do agree that there are a few things I've heard people talk very highly about Herbert. This guy can do dimes, 60 yards, no problem. This guy has the arm. He just looked very poised and very calm. He doesn't yell, really. I didn't see anything that he actually yells on the field or something like that. But he's pretty good. And I kind of look at the stats line here. I'm just looking at it in week one where Chargers and football teams were playing, and I just can't help it but notice that the penalties, because I noticed that the Chargers had like six penalties, where the football team has eight penalties. Now, do you see that the penalty yards actually hurt the Chargers a lot in that game, or?
Absolutely. and
Hmm.
and it's not just this game. It's starting to become a recurring thing, but we'll get to that when we talk about week two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all in all, Chargers played well. The score was 20-16, a little closer than I think that this team is capable of. I think this team is capable of like completely shooting out teams, and I think that on in week one, it was way too close for what it should have been. There's
Mm-hmm.
no veteran presence in Washington. They're a young football team. The Chargers, okay, you could say that they're young because of Justin Herbert, but you have to realize that we have Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen. Uh, those guys are the veteran presence. We have, gosh, I'm forgetting the center that played for the Packers is now in the Charger locker room. He's a
Mm-hmm.
veteran. There is no reason why we should be getting penalties like that. There is veteran presence there to teach the other guys how to behave on the field.
Mm. So were the penalties mostly committed by the young players or the veterans or both?
I think it was just a mix, just like linemen's and like receivers not doing certain things. But again, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to week
Yeah.
two. Let's see. The LA Rams is another one of our teams. My dad is a fan, so I watch all the Rams games with him. You're
Mm-hmm.
an LA Rams fan, and obviously I'll root for any California team that makes it into the playoffs. So they actually destroyed the Bears uh,
Not
week one,
surprised. Right.
34-14. Uh, was that surprising to you?
No, not at all. I just don't feel like, I mean, Bears is not known for their, offense. Like, I know that for a long time that their defense is pretty good, but I feel like their offense, this is kind of like expected that they don't score a lot of many points there. And plus they have like two new quarterbacks, right? Like, I wouldn't say that Andy Dalton is new, but coming up from the Cowboys, we didn't really know what to expect from him and Bears. And Justin Fields, it's hard to say. I think they just kind of like started. Um, but I do know that the Rams is pretty good, right? You will agree that the Rams has like almost like number one defense. I don't know if they're number one right now, but I mean, at least like last year, a couple years ago, they were number one in defense. Now, offensively, I think having Matthew Stafford is a significant upgrade. I do think that they did not commit a lot of turnovers that they would have with Jared Goff. So I think the score wasn't that surprising. Kind of like deep down, I was hoping that the Bears would actually close the score more a little bit to make it more interesting, as opposed to be like losing by 20 points.
Yeah, yeah, definitely an upgrade with Matthew Stafford. Originally coming from the Lions, if you're not aware, but uh, he definitely showed out. I'm trying to find his Week 1 stats. I don't think I have him in hand, but it seems like he was competent enough, and even in some plays he was showing off. He had like a 40-yard pass
Oh man.
into a touchdown that first week, and maybe making a statement to the rest of the NFL that it wasn't him, it was the team he was surrounded by. And again, we'll talk about it during our Week 2 conversation because I have things to say about how Jared Goff played now on Monday night, uh, and it was bad.
You have to like let people know how bad it was.
It was pretty bad. All right,
Yeah.
so NFL Week 2. How did the 49ers do?
And honestly, if you had not asked me, I'll probably just like pretend that game did not happen. Uh, it's mostly because it's a low scoring game, right? Sunday morning, I was really excited because I got things to do around noon, but I went to the cafe and just like, you know what? I'm going to kind of follow up the score a little bit on this Niners game versus Eagles. Now, this is again another game where like the Niners didn't really know what to expect, right? Because Eagles, their quarterback is not Carson Wentz, right? Because Wentz is a lot like Jimmy, but they're just pocket quarterback. So they have Jalen Hurts who can run, who can throw. Um, and I think their offense and defense look slightly different. They also, uh, I forgot if their coach was the same as the last season, but then something was different. So they didn't really know what to expect. Plus, last year when we played against the Eagles, we actually lost the game due to injuries. We were a really bad team last year, so we lost to Eagles. So going into this game, I didn't really know what to expect. And as expected, the game starts really slow, right? So the Eagles had advantage. They were up 3-0 by a field goal. The Niners couldn't move the ball really well. Uh, they didn't really score till like the second quarter, if I remember, and they couldn't really score till like the fourth quarter. And so like in between was almost like there was nothing going on. Um, they know what to expect. So yeah, I was right. So they Niners scored 7 points on the second quarter and 10 points on the fourth quarter, and then nothing on the first and the third. And so it was a really low scoring game. I thought they should be able to score more, but I think offensively they were just really struggling. I watched some of the highlights. I was just thinking like, I don't feel like this is like a number one offense at all. Like this is like they're elite. Their offense is pretty good. You have Nick Bosa, you have Trent Williams, George Kittle, a lot of great players on the team. But and when I watch the video, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like something is missing, or because they're trying to do something different, it makes me feel like they almost feel a little bit like averagers to me in terms of the offense. But so there are a lot of people saying that it's actually the defense that was carrying the game, carrying the team to win. But I think it's kind of like both. I think there was one thing we'll talk about later that is like the possessions of the ball. But just because you possess the ball longer doesn't mean that you will win the game. How about your team?
So, the Chargers played the Cowboys, and like I mentioned before, a lot of what made last week a iffy game really showed its face during this game. Now, the day that they played after the game, I was extremely salty. Like you couldn't talk to me without me bringing up like how horrid that officiating was during that game. And now that I've relaxed, that I've calmed down a little bit, I can admit, yes, the Chargers beat the Chargers. No one else did. The Cowboys should have not won that game if it wasn't for how undisciplined this team is. Let me give you a stat. The Chargers are the number one team with penalties right now. And I think they're beating number two by like 10 penalties, which
Who's
is
number two? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know who number two is. But the Chargers have like 21 flags, which is like, why? Why are you drawing this many flags? It's, again, lack of discipline. I don't know what's going on. And there's just some like really bad calls on the referee's part. Now, the score was 2017, and part of it was because the Cowboys got the last possession, and I think you're going to talk about that towards the end of the show. So I won't touch too much on possession times and stuff like that. So again, the offense was spot on. The defense was showing out, except on the run game. For some reason, we weren't able to stop Zeke. We weren't able to stop their second string running back. I don't remember his name. But yeah, it was poor defense on the running game. It was great defense on the passing game. They hardly passed at all. I think Dak had about like 250 yards instead of his usual 300 yards, mostly because I think they just preferred running it the entire time, which, credit to them, it was effective. How many times they ran it, like they were getting 5-10 yards on average. So they were getting, every time they were running it, they were getting a first down, and if not, they were running it again on second down, and they were getting first down again. So in that sense, the Chargers needs to work on their run defense. It's not looking good. Now, something that happened in week one was the offensive line was looking amazing for the Chargers. Brian Bulaga had just gotten healthy again. We had Corey Linsley, our center, and we had who did we draft? Number one. Oh my goodness, can't believe I'm blanking on it.
That guy, did he play?
Yes, he did. He's doing amazing. I
Well,
I'm just having a brain fart right now. I know. Anywho, the O line was doing a great job week one. Now, week two, the line was There were there were parts where they looked great, and there were parts where they looked terrible. There was a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert, and I feel like that pressure kind of got to him because in this game he did end up throwing 2 interceptions, which was really bad. Uh, I It almost gave me the perception that Justin Herbert is turning into Phillip Rivers, which I'm a huge Phillip Rivers fan, so I know he can put up the stats. He's a stats machine. But at the end of the day, I know that Phillip Rivers would always throw interceptions either late game or like at end of halves, and I don't want Justin Herbert to be that. So in this game, he didn't look like amazing like he did his first year. I don't know if that's to him like regressing a little bit, like I mentioned before, but yeah, and then so I'll talk about the penalties now. Chargers had a ton of penalties, either being offsides, false start, unsportsmanlike conduct. But the biggest like 3, and one of them isn't even a penalty. It just happened to be a call by the ref that really cost us the game. Was one was the taunting penalty from Keenan Allen, and he got a first down or something like that. He caught a pass, got the first down, And then he went up to the guy and he was like talking trash. Obviously, we don't know what he said, but he was in this guy, not even in this guy's face. He was like maybe like 3 feet apart from him, and he was like talking to him. And like one of the refs throws a flag, and I'm like, why? That ended the drive. Like we didn't recover from that flag, so that was a drive wasted right there. Then there was another one where we went up to the red zone and then we scored the touchdown, and there was an illegal shift call, but then they tried showing the replay on the TV screen, and no one could really see like where they illegally shifted. So I was like very confused as of why they had that call. And then the third one is like once they had called it back, Justin Herbert gets the ball. He goes back like 10 yards, 10, 15, I think. And then he gets like, one of the O line doesn't hold, which is one of the problems I was talking about. And so one of the guys gets through. And then in the pressure, like this guy, Justin Herbert's about to get sacked. And he like throws the ball. And it like goes near a receiver, but it doesn't land anywhere. And so one of the refs calls a down like 15 yards back, and I'm like, that what, like you could see on the replay, he's like in midair,
Mm-hmm.
and he threw the ball. It was almost like a Patrick Mahomes pass, but it was incomplete, obviously, and
Yeah.
so it was just like really like bad calls by the referees like all around, and even like the Cowboys fans were calling it. Although the Cowboys fans were a little bit more annoying, saying that we didn't. It was our own. Well, partially it was our own fault, but that we kind of did it to ourselves. When I mean, those calls were just kind of really dumb calls to begin with. Like there was two scores. Oh, now that I remember, there was one pass where Justin Herbert throws like a 40-yard pass, and then it's ran to like near the red zone, and they call it back due to a holding flag. And again, they try showing the replay. There was really no holding going on there. So I was just like, what? Like you're okay, so you called 2 touchdowns back. This game, the score should have been a lot higher. It was just like ridiculous the amount of flags we had. Although I will say, a lot of the flags that we did have were caused by our guys being undisciplined. So half of the fault goes to the Chargers being the Chargers and causing all these penalties for no reason. And the other half of the flag, I'm blaming on the refs. Specifically, a lot of the touchdown flags. So yeah, so that was my week 2 experience. Obviously, I had a lot more to say, but that's because we didn't win, and so like I'm a little bit more salty about what happened. I'm not as salty as I was Sunday, but there were definitely some sketchy calls during that game.
Yeah, so you sound like you recovered pretty well from this game, even though it didn't seem that great. But the thing always that struck me is like, how would you know if a quarterback, they purposely throw the ball, like I heard this thing, like because I started watching this thing, and then they were saying that uh, if you throw the ball down and not aiming at nobody, that's that's not okay, right? They will do a flag. That would be a penalty.
It's intentional grounding.
Yeah, that's I don't understand that because sometimes I don't think it was that obvious. You know.
I I, I think the intentional grounding flag is when it's behind the line of scrimmage, and it's
Mhm.
directed at nobody. So you can't just get the ball and then throw it to the side because you have pressure on you.
But would it be okay, like if it's like outside the field? Like, cause I knew like I've seen games where like some quarterbacks after they're being pressured, they will throw the ball like out instead of like inside the field.
If it's outside of the field, it's fine as long as there's a receiver in the
Uh,
nearby area.
so it has to be clear that they actually target as someone as opposed to
Yes.
randomly throw the ball.
So like
Got it.
let's say let's say you had two receivers on the sides and they were running slant routes.
Hmm.
So and let's say the quarterback had pressure, he can throw it to one of the receivers, and it can go out of bounds as long as it's clear that he was throwing in that direction. It could be like 20 feet in the air, but it still was in the direction of one of the receivers, so it's not intentional grounding. The
Mm.
only time where intentional grounding is called is when it's behind the yards. The Why did I forget? Oh my goodness, I'm not having a great day with my memory. But anywho, yeah. So if it's behind the scrimmage line, and you're not throwing it to anyone, that's technically intentional grounding.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. But yeah, obviously, I also watched the highlights of the Chargers. I was just kind of like stunned by the fact that there were a couple touchdowns that were being recalled, like they didn't make it. The illegal shit part was really like puzzling in my opinion because like I didn't see any videos about them making any illegal shift. I didn't see anything. I was really happy that well that was a touchdown. There you go. Uh, but then nope, they were calling for illegal shift, which was a little bit odd there. I think we need to start paying the refs. Maybe they'll make better calls. Uh,
Wait, the refs aren't paid?
no, I think they're paid, but I think we just need to bribe them. I'm just kidding. Because I don't know. I feel like there's certain things they can
Well,
call a lot.
they were bribed. The Cowboys bribed the coaches.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Like Jerry Jones has a lot of money, right? Like if he wants his team to win, who knows?
The whole broadcast, I think it was on CBS. The
Yeah.
whole CBS broadcast was completely pro Cowboys. I was like, when are the Chargers gonna get any love? Like, there's no fans in the stands. Like, there was literally like it was all Cowboys fans. There was maybe
You know what?
30% Chargers fans.
I heard like what was difficult is that I think they lost their Chargers kind of like lost their fan base after they moved to LA. Like you could go to like Chargers. I heard even when the Niners were in SoCal for the preseason against the Chargers, it was like mostly Niners fan. Like there's like only like a few, maybe not that many Chargers fan. Like I'm just like, where are the Chargers fans? you know?
SoFi Stadium is a stadium for every other team except the Chargers. It's always gonna be an away game.
Do you think that they gonna build a stadium for themselves? I hope they
No,
do one day.
no,
Uh,
not under this ownership. They're not. You know how much the Chargers pay a year for renting out the stadium?
no idea.
One
You
dollar.
Oh, they're being smart there because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to own the stadium.
And they still owe money. They're still in debt.
What? How is that possible? Like, wow,
Bad
wow.
management. It was on a news report that Dean Spano's sister
Mm-hmm.
wanted Dean to sell the Chargers because they were funneling too much money into the team, and they weren't recovering their money. So the brother and the sister of Dean Spanos were
Mm-hmm.
wanting to sell their shares of the team, but it doesn't. Some rule about like it's not working that way, and they all have to sell it at the same time because I guess they all own like the team, so they're all trying to sell it all at once.
Hmm. Wow.
So, yeah, some political stuff going on, but I doubt it goes anywhere.
But I just think that, business wise, I thought that was a great idea
No, no,
for
no.
Dollar.
Business wise, like 100%, I would stay at SoFi Stadium as a renter or whatever. They have their facility somewhere else. I'm not sure where it's at, but uh,
Yeah. But I just thought it was weird because you're right. It does feel like every time when you step into the SoFi Stadium, that's not your own stadium.
it's the Rams Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And
like
it's just weird, right?
yeah, at least with the Rams, like I feel like it's 50-50. With the Chargers, it's like not even some on a good day, it's 30-70. So it's just like, eh.
Yeah. Well,
It's
but maybe you're right. Maybe if they play really well for the rest of the season, then maybe something will be different.
the
Maybe we'll get more fans come back. There's a lot of bandwagon fans out there, so never hurts to get a lot of fans.
the only way I could see the Chargers having a decent fan base is if they make it to the AFC Championship. That's how you get people to bandwagon. I mean, that's how the Chiefs got all their fans.
Yeah, after they beat the Niners. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Was it 2018?
No, I think it's 19. They won.
19?
So
Okay.
yeah, Super Bowl happened in 19, right? And so they won. Yeah.
Oh,
That game was painful though. I just have to say that.
I'm talking about the previous year when he lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
Oh, the one before. Yeah, probably the year before that. So I'm probably 18.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was
Yeah.
a fun game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywho, going back to week 2. Let's see. We have other games over here in week 2. We have. Where's the Rams? Who do they play?
They play
They play the Colts.
Yes.
Now, the big news coming out of this game is Carson Wentz got injured during the game.
I don't know how he got injured again.
So
I thought he was injured during the preseason.
So Aaron Donald went in for the sack, and I don't know how, but he kind of wrapped his legs around Carson Wentz's legs, and I think he landed weird on it.
Ooh.
He twisted his ankle again, and he's out because of that. Well, at least for that game. I don't know if there was an update on it. But yeah, Carson Wentz out for another at least another game. Let me look it up.
But
well, at least for this week, and he's gonna undergo MIR's
scan.
Yeah, scan
to see how his ankles heals.
So yeah, we'll update next week.
But I thought it was weird because before the season actually begins, they say that there's something wrong with his foot that might need a surgery, and then that will prevent him from playing the entirety of the season. So he actually played, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know about Wentz. I just feel like he's also battling against the injuries. And then, well, who's their backup quarterback?
Easton Sticks? Or
yeah,
Easton
nobody
Sticks?
knows. Yeah, I don't know about this guy, and it sounds like a lot of people don't know him either.
He wasn't good. The whole
Yeah.
reason why the Rams won was because Carson Wentz wasn't in. Not to say that the Rams couldn't have won this game with Carson Wentz in, but as soon as Carson Wentz went down, it was the deciding factor for the Rams to win the game. And he turned over the ball on his first drive.
Oh,
so it was
goodness.
just it was over right then and there. And then the Rams scored, and then that was the end of the game pretty much.
Because I actually thought the game was really close. And like you say, we thought like last time, but I just felt like the score could have been higher for the Rams because I think they scored a touchdown very quickly in the first quarter. And the Colts didn't score any points. They actually got stonewalled in a touchdown drive. And it was kind of weird because I thought they had 4 opportunities. They were at 1 yard. And I'm just like, yeah, come on, Colts, score a point, score a touchdown, or just a field goal. But nothing happened. And
well, they got lucky with the special teams mistake. So number 33 of the Rams shifts over. He's in motion. He shifts over to the other side, but then the ball hits him in the thigh, and the ball goes to the right, and then everyone's scrambling to the ball, and then the Colts come on top with it, and they just land on the end zone, and it was just dumb mistake, stuff that shouldn't be happening. It seems like it's a common occurrence in the NFL that special teams are just getting worse. Either kickers have no accuracy, or special teams mistakes are more commonplace, or the kicker situation in the NFL isn't helping either. There's maybe 5 elite kickers, and then everyone else just kind of is either mid or sucks.
Yeah, Yeah, I honestly have to say that every time when I see like there's a field goal attempt by any team, I just get nervous for them. Like even 30 yards or 36 yards.
Right.
It's just like, can you kick? Are we sure that you're gonna make it or not? Like, cause like sometimes I feel like 36 yards is easy for them, but
Every
apparently not.
every time the Chargers go for a field goal attempt, I'm like sweating. I'm praying. I'm asking God, please, please let me get these 3 points.
Yeah,
And it's always a 50-50 because we either miss it or we get it. And it's just like, oh man, it must be nice. I think Arizona's kicker
yeah,
is
they
one
got a
of
good
is
one.
really he did like 60 yards this week or something like that.
He actually like in earlier this week he had like 62 yards
Yeah,
attempt,
yeah, exactly.
and then his best record was 64 yards with Broncos.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
This
Must
guy
be
got
nice to
like
have a kicker.
oh my goodness, and he's very accurate. That's amazing because I've seen people, other kickers from other teams, they try to attempt even like 60 yards. It usually fell short, and it was really embarrassing to watch them like the football not even touching the rims at all. Like I'm just like, oh okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But speaking of which, Colts are 0-2 right now. Like I actually thought game two was probably their best game before Wentz went out. Uh, they had a good opportunity, like you say, but once Windsor out was out, then that was basically the game. You know,
and do you think Carson Wentz is let go at the end of the season if he doesn't recover from this injury?
I don't know, like did he sign a long term contract or just for
I
this
think it's a
year?
1 year deal.
I don't know, like if he's like proven to be very injury prone, but he might be let go. But then I think it's really hard to say because based on the performance he had against the Rams, I think he did pretty good, you know, like against the Rams, who has like a super good defense. Uh, that's amazing. 27-24. You can't complain about that. I actually thought the Rams is gonna just like crash every team, every single team. Um, but it was good. You know, it was a close game. I think Colts could, you know, I could be. I think it could be that coin toss. It could go either way, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to find what his deal is. Uh, okay. 22 million
Mm.
through 2024. That's a really long deal.
Yeah. So Wentz still has some time, right? So
Yeah. This
yeah.
is hold up. I need a reason to use this trend. Oh no. Hold up. I just had it. Hold up. I need a reason to use this transition. So let's see. Transition time. Nice. Okay, so yeah, over here, control minus. Obviously, you can't see it, but yeah. Well, according to MSN, Wentz is not coming to Indianapolis on the cheap, owning a cap hit of 22 million or more through 2024. Yeah,
Mm.
so that's the report according to MSN Sports or whatever their
Yeah.
division is called. So yeah.
Yes. But
Anywho,
for now, you know that at least Colts will have Wentz till 2024, right?
I would not be surprised if there's some sort of like early termination clause or something like that. It's just the guy has been injured a lot. That's why the Eagles got who's their quarterback? Jalen Hurts. There you go. That's
Right.
why
They
they
did.
drafted Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully Wentz can recover either a little bit earlier or hopefully this injury was just not that big of a deal because I feel like he has a lot of talent, untapped talent. And so if you can stay
Mm-hmm.
away from like the injury status, I feel like you could definitely show out with this Colts team. So again, if he doesn't start on Sunday, which I don't think it's looking like he will, then I think it's another loss for the Colts.
Yeah. Oh, I think this Sunday is gonna be rough for them too because they're playing against the Titans this Sunday.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be a little bit rough for them. But I think also the reason that they draft like so when he was at Eagles, the reason that they draft like Jalen Hurts is almost like similar to what Niners did, right? Like so I think they feel like Jimmy was not reliable enough that they feel like they actually had to draft Trey Lance. So I think there's like a kind of like similar reasons there.
Which is a great transition into NFL Week 3 predictions. We're not just doing 3 of them, we're going to do all of them.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. But I think there are like only four of them. I'm very excited. I do feel like there's gonna be some games gonna be like blow up games
Hmm.
for sure. Uh, so I'll start. I'll say, what do you think about the Ravens and Lions?
I think it's going to be a blowout. Lamar Jackson played an MVP caliber game last week.
Man, it was such a good game. Like it was really good. Like it was really good. And I just think that their defense is starting playing really well again. I think the Ravens is also. I think they're known for their defense. I don't know if this is true, but I know their defense is pretty solid. So I do agree with you that they're gonna blow up the Lions, unless Lions do something different to their offense and defense. But who would know, right?
Okay. Yeah. Also, just because I forgot to cover this in week 2, but the reason I was going to talk about the Lions is because Jared Goff threw 4 picks in that last game against the Packers.
Hmm.
And I was going to talk about it, but I guess we'll talk about it when we talk about the Packers next game. And I guess that is, do you think that Aaron Rodgers is messing with the entire league right now? We'll get to it when we talk about the Packers game. But let's start
Oh
from
man.
the top, and we'll go by the time. So
Hmm.
Thursday night football, it's Carolina against Houston. Who do you got and why?
I'll get. I'll choose the Panthers. They've been playing really well. I feel like they were underdog to begin the season with. You wouldn't believe why I say that, but they're 2-0 right now. Uh, I just think that they're playing much better now. Uh, and I forgot who their quarterback is. I know this guy. Who I forgot what's the Panthers quarterback, but what is his name? We know this guy. But he's definitely playing much better in Panthers. And I just feel like I don't know the situation about Texans, but then whenever I
They
feel like the Texans are playing kind of okay,
Oh,
you know,
Sam
like
Darnold. Sam Darnold's their QB.
I know exactly.
He's
Okay,
been
so
doing
this
good.
is a weird thing. I feel like Sam Darnold is gonna be one of those cases where he's gonna be like Matthew Stafford number 2. Not that they're the same, but it's just like because their previous teams were not that good, right? So Sam Darnold actually played pretty well with the Panthers right now, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I have no idea what's going on over there in New York with the Jets or why. Like every quarterback that they touch just turns into complete garbage. But
yeah,
clearly, Sam Darnold has shown that it is the system of the Jets that's wrong. It's not the quarterbacks that are entering it. Not to say that some of those quarterbacks weren't horrid,
right.
but maybe Sam Darnold is the exception, and it was the system in place in the Jets that was failing him, and not the other way around.
Right, because apparently he played amazing with the Panthers, and they beat the Saints, last week. So
And the Saints destroyed the Packers
yeah,
week
in
one.
week one. So
Crazy.
who knows,
I
right?
never thought. I never thought.
Mm-mm, same here.
Okay, so the reason I have I have Carolina even over Houston right now isn't even because of Sam Donald playing good or anything like that. It's because Houston just lost Tyrod Taylor, and the whole thing with their previous quarterback, it's some sort of like backstage, oh not backstage, behind the scenes drama with the office. and something about sexual allegations with some massage therapists. So it's
Hmm.
just a mess, man. That whole locker room is just completely out of order. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of leadership. I saw in an interview with Pat McAfee that Tyrod Taylor was talking about being the leader. So now with their leader out, like what's gonna happen? So I think that the disorganization of the Houston Texans will just give them a pretty much an automatic L on Sunday, unless they
Yeah,
pull some like voodoo magic and find a way of resolving their issues with their quarterback, which I doubt.
yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be really hard with the quarterback situation that they are facing right now. It's not easy to find a quarterback and you insert this guy and it will work, right? And it takes time. So it's going to be rough for the Texans for sure.
All right, Indianapolis versus the Tennessee Titans. Who do you got?
Given that Wentz is not playing, I'm going to go with the Titans.
Yeah, it's just because Wentz is not going to play that it's the Titans. Otherwise, it would be a really good game. Week one, Derrick Henry wasn't playing his usual aggressiveness, but week two he came back and he showed he's an aggressive quarterback, and he's still got that same magic as last season. I expect Tennessee to make it far during this season, so they'll definitely be a team to be looking out for.
Definitely. Hmm.
Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Giants. This this game's a
You
joke
know what?
already.
You know where my pause is coming from, right? Because I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know much about these teams. I just know that they're both,
They're stuck. Okay.
yeah, they're just in a really bad spot. Atlanta, I think, looks a little bit better than New York. I'm gonna have to say it's a coin flip at this point, but maybe it's leaning a little bit more towards Atlanta. I think they're just better situated with the talent that they have.
Hmm.
They kind of held against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, but then towards the second half, it was kind of a blowout. So I'm gonna say Atlanta.
Yeah. I will agree with you on that. I just don't know what happened in New York. Maybe the teams in New York are just not good. The Jets, the Giants. Uh, the Giants when they're supposed to win the game last time, like they were up by a point and then lost it. You know, so it was like I don't know what happened with the Giants here. So here, I think I'm just gonna go with my emotion. I think the Falcons. I'll take Falcons over the Giants
Oh, they
as
had a
well.
they had a really close game with Washington on Thursday.
Yep. So Washington, so what happened in that game? It was kind of funny. Was that Washington missed their first field goal to win the game, but then I think there was a penalty call on the Giants. So the football team got a second field goal kick chance, and then they made it, and then they won the game. So
Yeah.
go figure. Yeah.
Okay. The game that I will not be watching too carefully because I'll be at work.
Hmm.
So sad. The LA Chargers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you
Hmm.
got and why?
I think this is a hard. Uh, I'm gonna try to go for with Chargers. I think they're gonna play really hard this game. I think every team playing against the Chiefs, they always feel like they need to prove something that they want to prove that they can beat the Chiefs. So I'm gonna go with Chargers. I do feel like they will come up and be more careful, and I hope more disciplined. With their offense and defense, um, because well, simply the fact that they're in the same division, no. So if you want to have any success, you need to play really well against the teams in your own division, and I think this is the time for Chargers to win this game.
I agree. I want to go with the Chargers, but if they keep playing like they've been playing, undisciplined, just like penalties calls everywhere, I think it's either going to be really close or it's going to be a complete blowout. Because the Cowboys were missing opportunities last games to score touchdowns thanks to the Chargers off defense, which is kind of meh, kind of mid. Like they get the job done defensively. They got some good
Mm-hmm.
plays, but they're not like super consistent. They're not a top defense in the league. So uh, again, I think if the Chargers can stay disciplined, it's going to be a complete shootout between these two games, and it's going to be very close, with the Chargers probably coming on top. If they don't, and they get a ton of penalties, Mahomes don't miss. If they can't figure out the flag situation, I got Kansas City winning, and I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible, being a Chargers fan right now.
Yeah,
There
I
are
think it's
things we
very
need to
hard.
fix.
Yeah, I do feel like you don't want to give the ball to Mahomes. Like this guy is just that good,
This guy can
right?
score with 45 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, it's just like Brady. Don't give Tom Brady 2 minutes. Like give him 2 minutes, you're in trouble.
Defense needs to step up, and the offense needs to keep it clean on the plays.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
totally.
Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh, or the Steelers. What do you got?
I'll go with the Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers. They're just the better team. Uh, I haven't heard too much around Joe Burrow right now. It just seems like there's nothing going on in Cincinnati.
Not,
Steelers.
not much either. I think Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers are also trying to figure out their own issues too. I don't think they're playing that great either, but it just feels like,
But at least they're consistent.
yeah. Well, are we talking about they're being consistently good or consistently bad or
Uh,
consistently being
I,
inconsistent?
I just feel like they're meh right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing like amazing going on over there either.
Yeah.
But like at least they have like, I guess, Big Ben there, and he's a, you know, when he's not trying to take too many risks, he's a decent quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as he starts trying to do anything like some of the young guys are doing, then he like really long passes or something like that. That's when he turns into like the turnover machine. But other than that, like I think Pittsburgh's just gonna win just because they're a decent football team.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
All right, Chicago Bears against the Cleveland Browns.
The Browns.
Browns, they've just been
I,
they've just
they're
been
just a
showing
good team.
out. Good
Yeah,
team.
bro. It's a very good team. They're very. It must be really frustrating because everything went right for them, but they still lost to the Chiefs in Game One. So it must be really frustrating. But Browns is a really good team, so I don't expect anything less from them against the Bears, unless Bears defense show up and their offense is working. Then that might be a different story. But for now, I will have the Browns.
I agree.
Hmm.
All right, Baltimore. Oh, we already talked about that. The Saints versus the Patriots.
Uh, ooh.
That's a
Oh,
little
oh,
weird.
this is hard to say.
They're both
You know,
one
you
and
know,
one, and they both
I,
have a iffy quarterback situation right
you
now.
know the thing that what happened to the Saints last week was that 8 of their coaches had COVID, and so
Ah,
I think that really affects the way they play against the Panthers, right? Because how can you blew up the Packers by that many points, and the next game you suck? Like, how is that possible? Like, weird. Um,
true.
but so I don't know. I will go with the Patriots on this one. I do think that they're starting to play slightly better. I think they have a lot of players return from last year because so there were some players didn't play last season because they opt out, right?
Hmm.
So some of them actually return, and so I think the defense is, probably better than last season. So this one is kind of like weird. I think I agree with you on the quarterback situations, but I will give this one to the Patriots.
Yeah, to me it's a coin toss. I don't really follow any of these teams too carefully.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an incredible amount of weapons on both teams. Alvin Kamara, and then you got Hunter Henry,
Oh yeah.
and in the Patriots. So I don't know. To me, it's a toss up. Like both of the quarterbacks are playing, fine.
Right.
So uh, I guess I'll go with New England because
Mm-hmm.
Belichick.
Yeah, we'll see what Belichick will do this week. Um, yeah,
Cardinals and the Jaguars. I got the Cardinals.
there's no doubt. I think this might be another blow up game. Um, I think Kyler Murray is really good. Their defense, I think the offense is very good. I think the only reason the Cardinals will lose is if they're being inconsistent or they beat themselves, basically. Um, so that's what I have. Uh, and I probably will have to probably feel bad for Trevor Lawrence again. We'll
Probably.
see. Yeah,
I I
I just feel bad. That's all.
I think the issue with Trevor Lawrence is it's kind of like a Sam Darnold situation. I think where like the system is like weird because it's a college system.
Yeah, they have Urban Myers who I heard like the players are kind of complaining about it too. Like they're
Yeah, something about it feeling too much like a college system, which is
Mhm.
which is what we were trying to avoid in the beginning because there were reports back in January, February, March about Urban Meyer coming in and bringing all these NFL guys to make sure that he stays around the NFL system of coaching, and now we're
Mhm.
getting reports about him not being able to run practices the way an NFL team is supposed to run practices. So I think
Yeah,
there's just way too much stuff going on over there. So Arizona definitely, unless for some reason like the coaching changes from here to Sunday. So
I don't know.
yeah,
Hey, USC has a vacancy though. So University of Southern California, their football team was looking for a coach. So we'll see.
I can't believe he's entertaining that idea
No, there
while
was a
being
report,
employed.
but then I think he replied like, "Nope, I'm not gonna think about it" or something like that. I don't know.
All right, Washington, Buffalo.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Now, hear me out. I think this is an upset. I think this is going to
It
be the
could be.
upset of the week.
Okay.
If the defense shows up, Buffalo has not been playing all that well or they've been playing well offensively, but they are not the same team as they were last season. They're
Hmm.
not as aggressive. They're not as electric. I'm not sure what's going on over there. Uh, could be just another like slump on the quarterback's part, but
Yeah, yeah, I do see that because people did point out that Josh Allen's accuracy has kind of like declined a little bit too. So
yeah,
that was a little bit worrisome because like if you don't if Josh Allen cannot do dimes, then maybe the season it's a little bit like a little bit of a concern there, you know.
right. Maybe he's
Hmm.
just rusty because he hasn't played in a while. An actual, or I don't know. It's week 2, so there's no excuse now. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think this might be the upset of the week if Washington can bring in some good defensive plays, keep the
Yeah.
pressure on, and if Taylor Heineke could just play just a solid vanilla game. I think there's
Hmm.
an upset in the works here.
Yeah. We'll see how Henneke can do. I think he's pretty decent, but we'll see if he can do more, right?
Yeah. Jets against the Denver Broncos. Who do
This
you got?
one, Broncos.
Broncos. Yeah, I think it's easy. Um,
Like I
the
said, we don't know what's going. We just really don't know what happened with the systems in New York. I really don't know what happened there. You
Zach
know,
Wilson threw 4 picks last week. He's
that was
dang
probably the worst game that he have
he
had
is
in his life.
dangerously close to being on Jared Goff levels of bad. That's not good.
Yeah. No, I just feel like it's good that they're in NFL, but I feel like what is the chance of them being traded to a team they want to go? Like I think it's just hard. I mean, this is their first season, but then if you look at their stats, it's just not pretty. You know, it's not pretty to a point where like it's hard for other teams to want them unless they think they can fix them. Um, so that's rough.
Yeah.
So Broncos for sure on this one.
The Miami Dolphins versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
I almost want to say Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, me too. Kind of miss it now.
Yeah, yeah, Oakland. Oh my goodness, this one, this one is hard. Um, I don't know, and I don't know exactly what's going on with the Dolphins too. I thought they would come out even stronger, to be at least like 2-0 right now.
I thought they'd be a comeback team for this season for sure.
Yeah, but right now I didn't feel that way. I just didn't feel like they were that. Maybe not there yet, but maybe give them like 2 or 3 more games. Maybe we'll see something. Um, this one, I consistently underrate the Raiders. Yeah, every time when they play, I thought they would lose because they weren't good before.
When
Um,
we're considering the Buffalo Bills to be in the territory of mid
mhm,
to good team, there's no place for Miami to be less than mid. Like that's not gonna get you to the playoffs.
right.
So unless they magically fix their the way that they're playing the game, I
Hmm.
can't really see them progressing too far into the season with a lot of wins. I mean, they're playing the Raiders. The Raiders got, I mean, just look at how Derek Carr's playing right now. He's got 837 yards between two games, which means he's putting 400 yards per game.
Hmm.
And now one could say like, oh, it went into overtime the first game. There was just a lot of mistakes there, and that's the reason why there was more possessions. And you could say, I guess, the same thing about week two, but that doesn't mean anything. Like they're still a solid team. All
Yeah,
they got to
a
do is
win.
fix mistakes.
Oh yeah, and a win is a win, and then looks like the Raiders figure out how to play better defense. And I just look it up. It looks like Tua is hurt, so Tua is out for I don't know how many weeks, and so that adds a lot of complications to this team's chemistry and dynamics. We'll really hope that the Dolphins will be able to, turn it around because otherwise, I don't see. I mean, the next few games, if they win, it's good. But if they lose, I'm not too surprised by that either. Like losing a quarterback like that, it's just not good.
Right. All right. So the
So we're getting to the fun ones.
Seattle
Yeah.
Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings, the
Oh, what's going on with
two
the Vikings?
choking teams of week two.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that Seattle lost that game, to be honest. Like, I mean, the Titans are great, but the
But
fact that the Seattle didn't close it out.
they had him the first half. I don't understand.
There was something weird about Seattle too, right? Because like there were reports last year, or I mean, after last season ended, they were like, "Oh, I think the Russell Wilson wants to be traded," and things like that. I was just really surprised that they didn't win that game, and I don't know what's up with the Vikings. They should have won that game as well, right? So won the game against the Cardinals,
They
and
missed
like
by a field goal.
all right, yeah, that proves that kind of proves our point that we get nervous about the field goal kick. Like, it's just you just can't afford to miss them, especially in these close games. So this one, I don't know. I feel, given the situation at hand, I just feel like I want to go with Seattle because they're obviously a better team. But then so was Cardinal. But then Minnesota was playing really well, and so I don't know. I would say 50-50 here. Um, I'm gonna go with Vikings. I'm just rooting against the Seahawks. Sorry, because they're in my division.
Nice. I actually got the Seahawks here. I think if
Yeah,
they could stop choking, then I think they can get the win for sure.
I know. I think Seahawks is pretty good, but I just something tells me that they might choke again. Like, but who knows, right?
Right.
Uh, I Vikings is just like kind of like randomly pick one because I just don't think that they're that good. But occasionally they have like really high scoring games, right? Like so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I think the game that I'm looking to most is Tampa Bay against the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh
It
my
is
god.
time to
Who's the
see if the LA Rams are real. Well, they're
yeah.
real, but like a really good team. If
You know,
they're
I think this is gonna be good because this is gonna be the first time where Matthew Stafford has a really good team and Brady has a really good team. And so I think for there's more to be proven by the Rams, right? Because if they can beat the Bucks, if they see each other in the Super Bowl, let's say, then they know they have a chance, right? And not to say that if this win is gonna matter that much, right? So if they can keep the game close and win it, that's fine too. But it's just kind of like it's a test of like how good we are against the Bucks, right? And so this one is gonna be a little bit tough. I don't know. I I don't know. Like, who would you pick to be the winner for that game potentially? Like your prediction.
oh man, this is like the one that I definitely don't know at all. Um, I think it's gonna be a really close game, and I honestly think it's gonna come down to the quarterback battle
Mm-hmm.
or the defense. I think both the defense and the offense are almost equally matched for these teams. As much as I don't like Tom Brady, I think he's gonna win this game.
I
I
think
think
so too.
he just has the experience under pressure under really good teams. I don't think Matt Stafford has that. He probably has like pressure experience against like mid teams or
Mm-hmm.
bad teams where it's close then, but I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he could do it like against a really good team. So for
I
that
ex-
reason, I got the Bucks.
yeah, I do feel like Brady always has that good supporting cast, right? And and we see that, you know, we saw that in Super Bowl last year, right? Like he do like 3 interceptions and nothing happened, right? So he did have really good supporting cast in terms of Bucks defense. That really helped him out big time, right? So I would say the Bucks too. Maybe not many points. If they win by like 3 points or seven, um, I think that's within the range. Um, and and I'll be really surprised if that this is a blowout game, which I think is very unlikely. It should be very close.
Should be close.
It should be close. Like
Last possession wins. The Rams should know that they can't give the ball to Tom Brady with a minute left.
no, he's too dangerous. Like this guy, Tom Brady, he can move the ball like very quickly. Even giving him a minute, and he will be able to move the ball. And then I think their kicker is actually pretty good. And so you don't want to give the Brady the ball like within a minute if you're like only up by 1 point or 2 point for
Right.
sure.
Wanna have a decent gap.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's the game I really look forward to. I do like the Chargers and the Chiefs one. But for whatever reason, like even we're gonna talk about the Packers and the Niners pretty soon.
Yeah, that's the
There's
next game.
there's other two games that make me kind of nervous a little bit, to be honest. Like just as much as we love Chargers and Niners, the thing is that they always make us kind of nervous. Just like the it's just not predictable at all. Like it's weird. Um, but uh, but that's that. I think other than that, like for a non-fan point, I think the Bucks and the Rams will be super good game. And that's that. Uh, and the next one is the Packers and the Niners. And so, who do you pick this would be the winner for this one, or who do you predict to win, or most likely to win?
I think the Niners win this one. Why?
You don't think Aaron Rodgers
No,
with his like a philosophical attitude can win?
no, 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 no. I think he's losing on purpose. I think he lost a week one game on purpose, and then week two he was gonna lose the game again, and then he got on
Yeah,
the internet and saw how bad everyone was talking about him, about almost losing to the Lions, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you how it's done." And then he blew him away.
Yeah.
I think he loves the Niners enough that he's gonna lose. He's gonna throw the game. I think he's messing with everyone. How do you go from being the MVP of the league to almost losing to the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, like honestly, for that game, when they won on Monday, they were trailing, right? So like the Lions were leading like 14-0 or something, or 10-0 at halftime, and Green Bay didn't score anything, maybe almost 3 point, and it was up to me like, how can you trailing like this? And you're Aaron Rodgers, right? So you're the MVP last season, right? So do something. Um, but I don't know. I really don't know because like Green Bay last time we played against the Green Bay, we lost to them because we just have a lot of injuries. Um,
Which is the same case now.
which is the same case now. I do think that if things don't go well for Jimmy, which it's possible, then I do think that Trey Lance will come into play a little bit, like maybe like take more than 3 or 4 snaps. For sure. So we'll probably see Trey Lance play a little bit on Sunday. Might be a close game, but I don't mind if it's a blow up game where Aaron Rodgers playing his mind game again, like like saying like, "Oh, I don't really care about anything. I will need to play better next game." And then it's okay if he destroy the other team if he wants, but but I do agree with you. I think part of it is like I think he's just really messing around with people. I don't think he really cares about.
I don't think he cares. I think Packers have this impression that it's somehow like MJ, like it's the last dance for Aaron
Mhm,
Rodgers. When I don't think he feels like that at all. I feel like he feels underutilized. He's not being listened to. He doesn't have the weapons that he wants. So
mhm.
it's like he doesn't care. Like he has 1 year left on his contract before they either renegotiate it or he goes to another team. I honestly think he's gonna leave at the end of the season.
I do think so too, because like if he doesn't leave, what do you do with the Jordan Love situation? Like you draft him, and if you're not willing to play him,
He
then
felt
what?
slighted
What's
by that. He's already come out and said it.
yeah, yeah, and it's odd. Like so, if I would have Packers, I'd trade him after the season. Like even if I win a Super Bowl, I'll just let him go. Um, so I think it would be nice if the Niners win this one. They actually need to win as many games as possible at this point. I just feel like the schedule is gonna get tougher for them. So they're gonna play against the Packers, and I think the next one is the Seahawks, and then they play against the Cardinals. And so I think the schedules is getting tougher and tougher for the Niners. So they need to win as many games as possible early on. I just think that as the season progresses, you're going to see more injuries. Not that I want them to happen, but that tends to be the case, especially playing on the turf, which is not a real grass. And since like everyone is getting injured all the time, so there's a sense of urgency for them to win as many games as possible early on, and so that builds the confidence. Mostly not just the offensive line or defense line, but mostly for quarterbacks as well. I do think that Jimmy needs those wins to build up the confidence to play at a really good level.
I agree. I agree with everything you said.
Hmm.
All right, the final game: the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Wait, they're in the same division, right? So,
Yes,
uh, so before we go, do you think that they're gonna tank the season as well as the division?
the Eagles. No, I
No,
I think that they believe that they have a shot.
in the division.
Yes, the only
Okay,
other good team is the Cowboys.
okay, I do see that. But then it would be crazy if we see them in the playoff with like what record 7-10.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that week one, Dallas almost beat the Bucks, and that was a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Week two, I didn't feel as strong as about the Cowboys as I did. I think they should have, like, if it was like a no flags sort of game, it would have the Chargers would have won by two
Hmm.
scores.
Right.
So I don't know. They're kind of like an enigma. I think Dak has a lot to prove, especially because he got paid when he
Yeah.
was injured, which is
Hmm.
even more surprising to me that they made that decision. So honestly, we'll see what happens here. I don't see the Cowboys losing. I think they're a far better team than the Eagles. I think the
Hmm.
Eagles are finding a groove, but I think they're like in that mid, lower, like high, low, low mid sort of area. So if they
Hmm.
can beat a couple of like mid teams, maybe my
Yeah.
perception of them will go up. But given how they've been playing, I just think Dallas is a more solid team right now.
Yeah. With that back in the lineup, definitely. I do think that Eagles they have a lot of young players. Their defense and offense. I don't know about their offense, but I think their defense is pretty good actually. But I think they lost one player to Achilles injury, so that really put a dent in their morale as a team. So I don't know how that's gonna affect their performance. Actually on Monday, they're not playing this Sunday. That they play next Monday. Um, so but I think this one is a little bit hard for me to see. Like, I think for me, it's either way. Like, I think Dallas, like you said, they can potentially have a really good game on Monday, if the Eagles can defend anything, right? So if they
Right.
can defend anything, I think that Dallas can basically blow this game up very easily. Um, but I just want to be a little bit like skeptical about Dallas, so I'll go with the Eagles.
Yeah. So that's actually all for week 3. All the games for week 3. Did someone have a bye this week? I don't think anyone did.
No, that's too early for bye,
Yeah.
right? I think they all play. I think the bye will coming in like week 5 or something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, is there any other news or topics that we want to talk about before wrapping it
So
up
one of
here?
the things that we mentioned earlier, right? So we were talking about the possessions, right?
Right.
Um, the thing about it is that I have heard a lot of people start saying that the strategy to play against a good team is that you want to make a drive. You want to hold on to that drive as long as possible so you don't give the ball to a really good team that will just easily score a touchdown in 2 minutes. And so I never thought about it because to me it's frustrating if you're taking 19 plays to get a touchdown because I feel like that's like highly inefficient, right?
Right.
So what is your thought about it? Like possessing the ball, hold on to it as long as possible as a strategy to kind of slow down the offense from the other team.
Okay, so I'll use the Cowboys as the example for this. Week
Mm-hmm.
1, the only reason they did not win against Tampa Bay was because they gave Tom Brady 1 minute to score.
Right.
Week 2, the only reason the Cowboys won was because they're the last ones in possession of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So, if your team is neck and neck with another team, your defense better step up and better shut him down. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can't shoot the ball. You can't go touchdown for touchdown, field goal for field goal. Because then it just comes down to time and who has the last possession.
Right. Exactly.
So I think you're right. Whoever has the ball the last is probably gonna win the game if you're even. Now if it's
Right.
a situation where like you're scoring by 2 or by 3 scores, then it's not really that relevant at that point,
Mm-hmm.
unless you choke the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But I digress. Um, so yeah, the I think you're right. I think it does come down to the last possession for certain teams. Like we were saying for the LA Chargers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. If
Mm-hmm.
if not many penalties are called during that game, it's going to be down to the last possession. Both the defenses are on par.
Yeah,
both the offenses are on par as well. So it's really going to come down to who has the ball last.
yeah, I totally agree. I just think it would be interesting that to see if, for example, I don't think the Chargers will ever do this, but let's say they take their time to on their offense, right? Let's say 15 plays for a touchdown. That's really long, right? But
Yeah.
I wonder like what kind of effect this will have like on teams like Chiefs. Because I mean Mahomes is really fast. Like he literally will take his team to a touchdown like within like what 10 plays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Less than that sometimes. Like
two or
when he's
three.
under pressure, he'll do it. Yeah, in like two or three.
Yeah. So I think the goal is like to play against them. Like if your defense is really not good, I think this is probably potentially a good strategy. Because like otherwise you're
Well,
just
if
gonna get beat every time when the other team is running the offense,
well if you don't
right?
have a good defense, then your offense better be fantastic, because otherwise it
Yeah,
doesn't work at all.
yeah, yeah. And then you better hope that the other team's defense is terrible, right?
That too. That too.
I think that's the hard part. And so I don't know if, like, for example, the Niners are gonna be doing the same thing, like what they did with the Eagles this past weekend, where the offense feels so stagnant. Like it almost like you just can't watch the game. You get frustrated. You'll be like, "Hey, I thought this was supposed to be a high-scoring game, but why is the Eagle leading like 3-0 in the first quarter? Niners didn't score anything." And so it was a little bit frustrating to watch it as a fan. It's just like you know that there are 4 quarters, but yet when the offense is like this, it takes so many plays to just go get to like cover 90 yards. That feels like insanely long. But then when people say, well, if you don't know your opponents really well, or you have your opponents almost like brand new team, maybe this could potentially be a strategy. You just take your time. But also, I feel like if you take more than 19 drives, usually what that means is that your offense is just not going anywhere, you know.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I think this is something to look for. I think the clock management is one thing. I do see that coming up a lot for the Raiders. I feel like they always come down to that one last possession. It's always like that for them. I don't know. Like I think the last few games, I don't remember any games. It's not like that for them. You know. Um, so
Yeah. I remember uh, the Chargers versus the Raiders last season. It was
I remember
my
that
favorite
one
game of
too.
the season. And it came down to the last possession. Chargers won.
By three
So,
points, right?
touchdown or 3 points? Can't
I
remember.
don't know.
This it was a
I I
score.
I,
I think it
I
was a
just thought it
touchdown.
was
I think it
funny.
was a touchdown.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember we were following about that game. I
Oh
was
wait,
like, oh my god, that was crazy.
it was a
Um,
touchdown because I remember. I remember Justin Herbert comes out and like he's like sitting down on the grass like a kid, and he's like,
yeah,
I was in." So he was like screaming at the ref, and the ref is like, yo, whoa, we know you were in.
yeah, that was
So
funny. But yeah, that was the weird thing about the Raiders. I think the Raiders had their opportunities, they squandered that, and they were just playing awful in the second half of the season.
yeah,
Um,
like after that game, they never recovered.
I don't know. Like they were the only team that give the Chiefs a lot of headache. Um,
Yeah,
because Chiefs only
I don't
lost
know
two
why.
games. I don't know. I think there must be it must be the way they're playing that Chiefs had a hard time adjusting to. But we'll see. You know, we'll see
Maybe.
how the Chiefs play against the Raiders, and we'll see if it's still the same issue. It could be, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that was all the news and predictions that we have for you this week. I
Yes.
think
Plus random gossip from us.
yes. I think it was a good first episode, Lee. What do you think?
I do think it's a first episode, good, really good first episode, and like, this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm a bit nervous. I just have to say that, but it was really good, to be able to talk about football on a podcast. We rarely record this thing, who would have thought that we would record the conversation in the podcast.
Well,
But I think it's very good because it gives us like some excitement, something to look forward to this Sunday and even this Thursday, right, for a football game. And then it helps you kind of like look at the things you want to look at, right? Like to see if the things are really what they are, like what we say, right?
right.
So it gives us something to look for,
Yeah.
at least this Sunday.
Yeah. I'll close with this. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be doing a podcast with a TA for one of my math classes about football, I would have thought you were crazy. So we went from talking in office hours about NFL to talking on our own podcast now.
Yeah, I think it's truly amazing. 2 years ago, if you were telling me that we're talking about football, then I would be like you off your mind because I wasn't really follow NFL that closely. But
Nice.
last year, I think thanks to the pandemic, I actually started following football analytics more, and I thought the sports is a very interesting sport. It's very interesting games played by a lot of players, and it's very cool. There's a lot of strategies being played during the game. Besides the fact that players get injured very easily, but yeah, 2 years ago, I always say like, no, I don't think I would ever envision myself doing a podcast with Joseph, right? So like, this is something new that we're trying here.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Lee, where can they find you on social media?
Social media, I'll figure out a better way to just disclose that in the future. But for
Okay.
now, I'm gonna pass that.
Okay. Well, you can find me at Zephyr the Scribe on Twitter. My Twitter page is open, so you can follow me. I tweet about football and about pro wrestling stuff. So if you're interested in any of those two things, go ahead and give me a follow. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and if you enjoyed the podcast today, give us a share. Tell your friends, hey, look, it's my buddy Lee, and he has his own NFL podcast now. Or if you're one of my friends watching this NFL podcast, show it to another friend and be like, hey, this is my buddy Joseph. He's doing a podcast about NFL stuff. Mostly complaining about the Chargers. But, well, yeah. All right. For Lee and Joseph, good night.